Hey, what's up guys? I'm 2F0T and I like to make videos about tips and technologies that people with disabilities can use to enhance their everyday lives. And this van behind me is not your everyday van. I'm going to give you guys a full walkthrough of this van, from features specific to the sport model, as well as details about the wheelchair conversion. If this is content that you like to see, definitely give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, then give me a subscribe. With that out of the way, let's check out this Odyssey. This is the 2023 Honda Odyssey Sport Bronability XI with power in-floor side entry ramp, meaning the ramp comes out of the rear side door. Being a sport model, it has shiny black alloy wheels, black side mirrors, which are heated, and Braun chose to go with some sleek black badging. There are LED daytime running lights and fog lamps in the front. Color matched running board and side flare. And this is the Platinum White Pearl Honda Odyssey Sport. And moving around to the back, we have another sleek black Bronability badge, as well as standard chrome badging from Honda, LED taillights, and got a nice little license plate there. Thought you'd enjoy that. It's powered by a 280 horsepower, 3.5 liter V6 engine with 282 pound-feet of torque. It gets 19 miles per gallon in the city, 28 on the highway, and 22 combined. It has a 19-gallon fuel tank, which should get you about 320 to 350 miles per gallon. One thing that I love, it's got a capless fuel nozzle, or a capless fuel filler, so no need to fiddle around with the fuel cap when you just want to gas up and go. So one thing that I don't really like about the van is that I have never been able to fill the tank up completely. So that's from completely vapor all the way up to completely full 19.5 gallons. And the reason for that is actually because as part of the wheelchair conversion, Braun removed the OEM tank and replaced it with a customized tank that could fit within the conversion. And when they did that, they must have messed with the fuel pump or the fuel sensor. I'm not that technical. I have been back to the dealership that I purchased the van from, and their service department worked with Braun to adjust the fuel pump, and they believe the issue has been resolved. I haven't had a chance to test it yet because this repair was made very recently, but I am going to test it as soon as I am on empty, and I'll upload a short to give you an update on that progress. So if you haven't already, definitely hit that subscribe below so you know when that goes live. All right, now let's see what it's like to unlock and lock the car. So to unlock it, you walk up to it, put your hand in the door handle, and open the door. To lock the door, you close it, and you'll hear a beep, and then you can walk away, and once you walk about 6 feet away, you'll hear another beep that will tell you that the vehicle is locked. You can also push the little black button on the door handle to lock the door. So I'm going to open the ramp now, and you're going to see that as the ramp is coming out, the van is going to very subtly lower itself. If you look at that wheel arch and that tire, it is going to slowly drop down a couple inches, and also that is going to allow the ramp to be at the shallowest angle that it can be, which is 9.2 degrees. And if you're not familiar, the ideal or maximum angle at which you want to drive a wheelchair up a ramp is 10 degrees. So it's a nice shallow angle, which is one of the more comfortable ramps that I've been in a wheelchair van. The ramp is, as I mentioned earlier, it's about 30.5 inches wide, which is on the low end of the ramp widths that Braun offers, as well as other manufacturers. They do offer some 37-inch ramps as well to accommodate larger wheelchairs, but those are not available in the Odyssey. You'd have to go to a Pacifica or a Sienna possibly, or another manufacturer to get maybe an SUV. The ramp height opening is pretty decent. It's a little over 50 inches. So you can go in with a pretty tall wheelchair if you need to, but if you can lower it, you probably should. Now let's move on to the inside. Starting with the door, we've got your standard lock and handle. We have 2 driver memory seating options. We have power controls for your windows, lock and unlock, a window lock button, and then 4 window switches, which a nice feature are that they're all auto up and down. So you just need to tap them once to open and close the windows. You've got some storage here in the door for change, glasses, more change, and then water bottles and whatnot down there. Under this, on the door itself, we've got our blind spot monitor right there. Under the vent, you have open and close buttons for the 2 sliding doors. There are numerous ways to open the ramp, which I'll go over a little bit later. There's a switch to disable those buttons altogether. We have a button to open the tailgate, which I will show you in a little bit. And then we can turn off our ABS, and then down below that, I don't know if you guys can see, we have our parking brake, and then we have another button there for brake hold, which allows you to, kind of stop at a light or, behind traffic and not have to keep your foot on the brake. I will mention that the brake hold does require you to have your seatbelt on, which of course you should do anyways. The steering wheel is really intelligently laid out. We've got buttons right here to control the information cluster, as well as to control your volume, your Bluetooth for your phone, as well as do some simple voice actions. On the right side, we have our adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist settings. All right, let's take a look at this infotainment screen. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, although they are wired, so I have this little cable organizer to keep my wire handy. It plugs in right down there, so it is a little bit of a reach for me. And for times when I don't necessarily want to use CarPlay, I can put my phone right here, and I just push this little button, it clamps it in, and it charges it wirelessly. Now below the screen we have our HVAC controls. We have our gear selectors right there. I should note that the reverse is a downward press, which not a lot of people can figure out when they get in the car for the first time. It is a push button start. And then we have our heated seats for the front and driver's seat and the passenger seat. All right, now let's take a look at the driver's seat. It has a 12-way power, a nice leather with red stitching, which also matches the red stitching on the wheel, and also the red ambient lighting, which is a little bit more obvious when you're driving around at night. So that's a nice little touch. And also the armrest is adjustable, so you can set it at different heights depending on your comfort level. The passenger side has 8-way power, the same leather, but unfortunately that armrest is not adjustable on the passenger side. So one of the compromises that Braun made was to remove the center console. And what that does is it kind of creates a big gaping hole here between the 2 driver's seats. And they did account for, the lack of storage by adding a couple of cup holders next to the seats. And then they also gave you some additional accessory power down there, which gives you a couple of USB ports, as well as this switch, which I will go over a little bit later. And what that does is it allows you to control the operation of the side door buttons. So the back seat is actually pretty comfortable. It's got a good headrest. I've got a couple of cup holders here. I've got a power port here. I've got a footrest that is foldable for when you want to bring in a larger wheelchair, if you want to spin around. I will say though that Braun has had to make some pretty serious compromises with this conversion. One is that normally you would see a vent right here for the third row passengers. They did have to disable that because of the way that the way the conversion was done. They had to remove the rear blower motor, which normally goes below the center console. So the rear seats are pretty uncomfortable. I know you can tell it's pretty sunny here, but it is also over 110 degrees for more than half of the year. So I am really not sure if this vehicle is going to meet my family's needs long term, but you know, definitely more to come on that. So this is what it looks like from the second, or it's the second row now, but it used to be the third row. So obviously Braun had to remove the second row as part of the conversion. Right here is where the wheelchair sits, and you can technically fit two wheelchairs side by side, right next to each other. There's a track right there, as well as under this step that you can use to secure the wheelchairs in. I did put this diamond flooring down because it prevents the wheelchairs from sliding around. These captain's chairs are removable, so you can step on that bar right below them and roll them out if you want to slide a wheelchair into either position, and they have a similar track system up ahead for you to secure your wheelchair. As I mentioned earlier, you know, this used to be a vent, which it no longer is. So you know, sitting in the back here, even though the AC is blowing up front, it's pretty uncomfortable. There are vents right there and right there, although you can see that they're pretty tiny and air does not really get back here. All right, let me show you guys how we can open the ramp using the different buttons in the car. One is right over there using the buttons next to the steering wheel. One is right there using that button that looks like a van with a door on it. One is from the key itself using this button right here. One is right here using this button. And the last is using this button right here. Now, if you are in the vehicle or outside of the vehicle and you want to deploy the ramp, you can actually do so by pressing on the lever right here. This will allow the door to open and the ramp will not deploy, and the same can be done from the handle outside the van. So as you can see here, the door is opening and the ramp mechanism is not opening. So right down here by the power ports and right in front of the cup holder under the dash is a switch that you can use to choose what the default action is of all of these sliding door buttons that I showed you earlier. You can choose to keep it in the middle where I currently have it, where the ramp is on and the kneeling is on, or you can push it up and the ramp will stay on and the kneeling will turn off. That's good if you're, say, parallel parking next to a curb and you don't want to put, you know, extra pressure on the ramp. And then the last option down in number 2 is to turn the ramp off and the kneel off. And I would generally go into this mode when, say, you're having the car serviced or getting it washed, or if someone's driving it, they don't need the ramp, and you don't want them to inadvertently open that side door, deploy the ramp, and potentially damage another car or damage the ramp itself. So where do I ultimately land on the 2023 Honda Odyssey Sport Braunability XI with side entry, power, and floor ramp? If I had to give it one word to sum it all up, it would be compromise. Despite the fact that it's a Honda, and I know that mechanically it's going to be reliable for many years, and it's got some good safety and convenience features, I do feel that Braunability had to make quite a few compromises to enable the wheelchair accessible conversion. The removal of the standard 19-gallon fuel tank and replacing it with another one has obviously caused some issues, and I don't believe that I'm the only one experiencing them, but I do hope that they can remedy it in future models. and the issue with the lack of air in the third row is pretty significant. So if you live in an area that the climate is extreme, either hot or cold, your third row passengers might be pretty uncomfortable. But if neither of those issues are important to you, then I think this is a solid van. But if they are, then you want to take those into consideration when making a decision on what vehicle works for you and your family. Ultimately for me, I don't know if this vehicle is going to work, so I am looking at other options, and I am narrowing down my choices. So if you want to see what I end up going with, I'm going to be doing obviously more content, long-term review, short-term review, initial impressions. Definitely subscribe so that you're notified once those go live. And if you like this video, give me a like, and if you know of anybody that's considering a wheelchair accessible van, have them take a look, share this with them, because knowledge is power. Thanks for taking your time to follow along in this with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.